Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Go. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna,
Haribo, Haribo.
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Bolo, bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Astatera Sutta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Astatera Sutta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Brindi ki jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Namsakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakun Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thai Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatidasta. I think if I sit in a chair, you could see me better. And the people in the back will have neck aches because they're looking up to see me. Is that possible? Is there a chair? Hold on, everyone. We will be making some minor adjustments. And then we just have to, we have to raise this up, these top ones. Pull it down. And then tighten them. Yeah. And then pull this up. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. The internet is not happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Somehow your internet is not connecting. Is it a slow internet connection? No, it's. So I'll use my phone then. That's a bad connection. It's a slow connection. Because the connection's bad, it can't broadcast. It's trying to connect and there's no connection. They're wrong. The connection's no good.
Maybe not a bit slow. No, it's on. It's on. It's on. Did you do the pause? Yeah. In capital.
It's connected.
Oh, it's connected.
But it's like
A bit slow.
issues.
Oh, right. Okay. It's right. It might be slow. And so many people connect that. A lot of people here for one pass. Oh.
Check out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna everyone, we welcome you all for this wonderful evening in the association of Grace Mahatma Prabhu. I'll just quickly give a quick introduction so that you know and we can value the association. Mahatma Prabhu, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu has joined, or is it? That's why we brought him here. His Grace Mahatma Prabhu joined the International Society for Krishna Consciousness ISKCON in 1969 and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1970. So I'll just quickly repeat, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu joined ISKCON in 1969 and was initiated by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in 1970. So you can easily see, you know, what an experience.
You can see how old he is.
And of course, you know, Prabhu travels worldwide facilitating workshops, which we are going to do now as well, in so many different topics, especially japa, forgiveness, humility. The last time when you came to East London, it was on humility and forgiveness. I still remember that. So that's why we wanted to do on japa this time. Vows and so many different things. And Prabhu has served as temple president, book distributor, Sankirtan leader, college preacher, membership director, and VIHE teacher, which is, Vaishnava Vrindavan Institute, teacher and co-director as well. He is the co-director of Bhakti Life, a non-profit organization that teaches the practices of devotional service through interactive workshops, retreats, and online courses and counseling. So, we are very fortunate to have Prabhu's association. So please make best of it. And of course, his workshops are worldwide, known for a great inspiration, motivation to take on the, our japa onto the next level and realize more and go deeper into our, Krishna conscious realizations. So in the end, if you have any question or doubts or, anything you would like to clarify, you're most welcome to do so as well. But we all would like to welcome Prabhu in our traditional way by chanting 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! His Grace Mahatma Prabhu ki!
Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sannivari Paschati Dasatayane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sadhu Itigadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktapinda. So tonight we were asked to speak about japa. Is that correct? Okay. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada writes that of all the instructions, all the rules and regulations given by the spiritual master, the most essential instruction, not the most important or the essential instructions, but the most essential. And there's a difference, right? Isn't it? Say, of all the instructions given the spiritual master, a most important instruction or the most important. But Prabhupada says, more than most important, essential. Like if I'm a doctor and you're a patient and I say, it's important that you take this medicine. But if I say it's essential that you take this medicine, that's more than important. Or the most important thing you can do is this, but the most essential thing is this. So it's essential. Essential in that sense means it's foundational to achieve the goal. If you want to love Krishna, then this is essential. If you don't want to love Krishna, you don't have to chant Hare Krishna. But if you want love of Krishna in Kali Yuga, this is essential. Not only is it essential, of all the instructions, it's the most essential. In other words, you could say in a sense, and I wouldn't say this, but you could say in a sense, all the other instructions are subservient to this instruction. And it is actually true in the context of the overall practice of devotional service that all the items of devotional service, 64 items, chanting Hare Krishna is the most important. It's number one. And it is said all the processes of devotional service are contained within chanting. So there's hearing, there's praying, there's surrendering, there's worshiping, and so forth. So we may do many things, and we may do many things well, but if we don't do this well, then we're minimizing our opportunity to advance most rapidly in Krishna consciousness, and we're minimizing our opportunity to achieve the highest state of Krishna consciousness. Because this is the process in Kali Yuga to get it. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Lord Chaitanya comes in every age, but he doesn't come in the form that he came in this age. So in every age he comes and he gives the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But you don't get love of God on the level of what we call Braj Bhakti, or in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, or the kind of love that the residents of Vrindavan have. You don't get that. You get the kind of love that is Vaikuntha for Narayan, on reverential love, which is not as deep and intense and as intimate. So In every age Mahaprabhu comes, the Maha Mantra is there, but it doesn't give you what it gives in this age. So, in this age, you can't get that love that is given in the mood of the gopis, or the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. You can't get that love if you don't chant Hare Krishna. Then you might say, well, what about deity worship? What about hearing Bhagavatam? It's said there are 5 main items in devotional service: worshipping the deity, hearing the Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, living in a holy place. So, can I get love of God? And isn't it doing these things? And isn't it said that there are 9 processes and I could perfect myself through any process? Like you could say, well, Parikshit Maharaj, he perfected himself by hearing. Sukadeva Goswami perfected himself by speaking. Ambarish Maharaj perfected himself by surrendering. In Kali Yuga, these other processes are supportive of our effort to chant Shuddhanam, to chant the pure holy name, because by chanting the pure holy name, then we will get love of Krishna. And these other processes are supportive. Now it's interesting, because worshipping the deity is one of the 5 main items, of the 5 most potent items of devotional service. But where devotees were traveling and preaching and doing Sankirtan and opening preaching centers, Prabhupada didn't demand that they do deity worship, but he did demand 16 rounds. And in fact, one time he said that deity worship is not that important. And in his books, that was to an individual devotee who was traveling and asking, should we do deity worship? He said Sankirtan is sufficient. But in Prabhupada's books, then he said that deity worship will purify one, and that purification will help one's chanting. So it was all centered around chanting. But it's interesting, of course, in all our temples we have deity worship, and I'm not recommending we don't. But it's interesting, and many of you have deities in your homes. But when we take initiation, we vow to chant 16 rounds, and we vow to follow 4 regular principles. We don't vow to do anything else. Now, of course, other things should be done, but when Prabhupada's saying 16 rounds is most essential, then it makes sense that we vow to do that, doesn't it? Like if it's most essential, you have to do that every day. If you don't do deity worship, you can still get love of Krishna. But it helps. It helps the process because it brings you to sattva gun, it regulates you, it purifies you, and it will help you come to this level. But he never made us vow to do it. So if some of you don't have deities in your home, and if you chant Hare Krishna, you can still become pure devotees. And in fact, the holy name is a deity. It's an incarnation of Krishna in sound. It's called Nam Avatar or Nam Rupa. So, just as the deity is made of marble or stone or brass, Krishna in his name is made of sound. And sound is a material element just as is brass or wood or stone, right? But it's just a subtle material element. But Bhumerapo Nado Na Kam Mano Buddha Evacha. Krishna lists the 8 material elements. So Kam, ether, sound is within ether. It's material. It's a subtle aspect of the air. Or earth, water, fire, air. Yeah. Bhumerapo Nalo. Yeah. Vayu, air. So sound is a subtle aspect of air. It's a material element, and so Krishna comes as a material element, just as he comes as wood or stone or marble. He comes as sound. So it's actually an incarnation. And there are temples in India that on their altar is the Maha Mantra. There are no other deities. It's the Maha Mantra written out. That's their deity. So they're worshipping the Maha Mantra, and that's that. And Prabhupada told us that in Kali Yuga, if you have Gaur Nitai, the main way you worship them is through kirtan. That's what they like. And Prabhupada also said the main aspect, or one of the most important, not the main aspect, but the most important ingredient in deity worship is the chanting of the holy name. or the most important ingredient in any yajna is the chanting of the holy name. I was in Vrindavan in 1975 when they installed Krishna Balaram, and in order for the local people to accept our temple as bona fide and the installation as bona fide, Prabhupada arranged that many pundits would come and do what they call the Murti Stapana, or the installation. And it went on for a day or two. And so a lot of rituals were going on, and I was there, and they were putting kumkum on Prabhupada's hand and tying red cords and doing whatever they do. It's not what we normally do in our temples, but those Brahmins were doing what was the standard in Vrindavan. And when it was being done, I was looking at Prabhupada, and it basically looked like he was tolerating it. Like you could see on his face that he wasn't really into this. He was just tolerating it because he felt that this had to be done for people to accept that our deities and our movement is genuine. This is how a genuine installation is done. And that was just my sense of it. And I had never seen it done before. And so it didn't seem to Prabhupada that it was that important. And in fact, later on, Prabhupada wrote in his books that it wasn't that important. And he said, what I considered important during the installation was the kirtan. That was the most important thing. So that just emphasizes what Prabhupada said. The most essential instruction of all the instructions the spiritual master has given, all the rules and regulations, the most essential is to chant Hare Krishna. Then he mentioned 16 rounds. Of course, that was addressed to initiated devotees or devotees wanting to be initiated, serious devotees who've taken that vow. Now, some of you may be chanting, some of you may not be chanting, some of you may be chanting 16, some may not be chanting 16, but Prabhupada gave us that number of 16 rounds. So if you're not chanting 16 and you're interested in becoming Krishna conscious, that's something to strive for. And if you are chanting 16 every day, then what you're meant to strive for is quality, not just number. So Prabhupada said, if you chant 16 rounds a day, Maya cannot attack you. Maya cannot make you fall. And he once said, if you chant 16 rounds, if you fall, I'll catch you. Or Krishna, either he or Krishna will catch. In other words, you can't. But Prabhupada didn't mean chanting with offense or chanting improperly or chanting like as a ritual or chanting mechanically. He didn't mean that. He meant actual proper chanting, avoiding the offenses. That chanting of 16 rounds is sufficient to protect you from Maya. And then in fact, many times, Prabhupada said, the chanting of 16 rounds done without offense, or making the effort not to commit offense, and done while following the four regulative principles, if done throughout your life, will be sufficient for you to go back to Krishna at the end of this life. And he said it many times. So, if you consider that, as we're ordinary people, nothing special about us, but we've been given a very extraordinary mantra, a very extraordinary guru, and a very extraordinary process. And now this extraordinary guru is telling us, if you do this, no matter who you are, where you come from, India, America, England, man, woman, big, small, smart, not so smart, whatever, if you do this, you can go back, you will go back, not you can, but you will go back to God. In other words, you will achieve Krishna consciousness on such a high level that at the end of this life, you will go back to Krishna. That's amazing, don't you think? And that relates to anybody. Look, anybody walking down this street, if they take to this process, having known nothing about it, and they do this their entire life, they can go back to Godhead. Because when Prabhupada said that, he was saying that to Westerners who had just come to Krishna consciousness. So when you meditate on all these things, you realize, or you start to understand that this is something that cannot be neglected within the process. If I want to achieve love of Krishna, this is an essential aspect of it. At one time, Srila Prabhupada was with one of his disciples, and his disciple was chanting japa, and Prabhupada was finishing some work, and his disciple was waiting for him And Prabhupada could hear him chanting, and so Prabhupada said, are you listening when you chant? In other words, are you concentrating? Are you actually chanting? Are you present? Are you doing it properly? And he said, yes, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, you should listen to every word, because this chanting is the essence of our philosophy. So again, that word essence, essential, this is the essence. Now, if you normally think of philosophy and the essence of a philosophy, you would think the essence of a philosophy is a concept, right? What's the essence of your philosophy? The essence of our philosophy is to surrender to Krishna. Or the essence of our philosophy is you're a servant of Krishna, you're part and parcel of Krishna. And here Prabhupada saying the essence of the philosophy is a practice. Isn't that interesting? At the end of Gita, Krishna says surrender. So you could say, well, what's the conclusion of the Gita? Sarvadharmam parityaja. You could say that's the conclusion, right? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada said there's no difference between Krishna's instruction of surrender to me and chant Hare Krishna. It's the same instruction. So then you can say chanting Hare Krishna, if it's the essence, then in Kali Yuga, it's the essence of surrender. And if you get to 16 rounds and 4 regular principles, you could define that 1866 in Kali Yuga means chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regular principles. And you're surrendering. So, the fact that we can achieve love of Krishna, but not just love of Krishna, but love of Krishna in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, means that in Kali Yuga, the holy name is endowed, as I was saying, with power and potency to reveal Krishna in his most intimate form of Vrindavan as Shyam Sundar, to reveal that to anyone who sincerely chants. So the holy name has that much power. There were times when Prabhupada said, if you take to Krishna consciousness and follow this process, you will be able to see Krishna in this lifetime. And you will, at the end of this life, be able to dance with Krishna. That's amazing. So how do we understand that? Because we understand Mahaprabhu is Mahabandhanaya avatar. He's the most merciful. So what could be more merciful than giving love of Godhead to people who aren't qualified and don't deserve it if they just take to the process? You understand? So it all makes sense when you understand it's coming from Mahaprabhu, who has decided, I will give everyone love of God. And, well, how will I give it? Well, here's the mantra, and in the mantra is love of God. So you take the mantra, and I won't charge you anything. In other words, there's no admission fee. I'll just give it to you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to bow down. You don't have to do any austerity. You don't have to have any pre-qualification. It's just like my daughter was telling me, now in New York, if you've lived there for 10 years, you can go to university free. So that's the only qualification, that you're a resident of the city. So other than that, you don't need money, you don't need much. You can they just open the doors for you. So that's what Mahaprabhu was doing. I was like, okay, we'll open the doors for you, and we'll give you this mantra, because in previous ages, everybody couldn't just get mantra. You had to be Brahmin, or maybe Kshatriya, maybe in Vaishya. But generally Brahmin, you had to be Brahmin, and then take Diksha, at least Upanayanam, and then you would get the mantras from your guru. So you'd have some qualification, Upanayanam. Now you're a Brahmin, okay, here's the mantra. So when Mahaprabhu is showing mercy, it's like, okay, you don't have to be a Brahmin. In fact, you can be an outcast. You can be considered outside Vedic culture, Mlecha Yavana, and we'll give you the mantra, and it'll work on you. And not only will it work on you, you can achieve a higher state of spirituality than people previously who were more qualified than you. Before Mahaprabhu came, people more qualified than us could not achieve what we could achieve through the Mahamantra. That's mercy, isn't it? You agree? Right. So it's in my experience, it's very, very important that we understand the position of the Mahamantra in the spiritual practice. Otherwise, we'll neglect it and we'll think, well, I do puja and I study, and whatever. I do so many things. So I'll just chant a little. Maybe some days I won't chant, or I'll chant 16 rounds, but I'll just get them done somehow or other while I'm cooking, while I'm shopping. That's not how it works. When we say you chant 16 rounds, you get love of God, it doesn't work that you just chant anyway. But you have to chant without offense, and one of the offenses is distraction or inattention. And that's the main offense. And that offense means we're just chanting. Now, if you look at religion or spirituality from a mechanical perspective or a ritualistic perspective, then ritual means success is not in the consciousness, but success is in the ritual, in the execution. I did the ritual properly. But it's not about what the mood was. It was about the external. I offered this, I did this 3 times, I did this 2 times. I said this mantra, we offered the grains, we do. So everything went by the book, and from the ritualistic point of view, it was a success. But chanting is not like that. Well, I did 16 rounds, it was successful. It's not about external. Oh, I sat in my temple, and I sat in front of my deities, and I chanted. That's good, that's nice, that helps. But that alone doesn't determine your success, because that can be only external. It's the mood. It's the internal mood. That's the difference between ritual and chanting, because chanting is about the mood. Yes? You understand? Otherwise, if you don't understand that, then you'll just chant and you'll think, if I do whatever my quota of rounds is, if I do that quota, I'm successful. And that's not true. You may not be successful, because if we chant committing offenses, then the chanting doesn't have much potency. Because Krishna is in his name, but he reveals himself in his name according to the sincerity and the purity of the effort of the person. So it's not equal when everyone chants. That's because it's not a ritual. But if you do a ritual, everyone will get the same. We all do the same thing. We get the same benefit. But if we all chant 16 rounds in different ways, we all don't get the same benefit. So it's important to understand that. Otherwise, we think, well, any way I chant is fine. As long as I chant this number, then it's good, because the goal is to chant a certain number. Right? So, you can stretch now.
I sort of lose connection.
What?
Is it still disconnected to this?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Actually, if I move, can we move this? Because if I move it, it will move this way. So, in other words, we can say, not all chanting is equal. And not everyone who chants will have the same realization or the same experience, because it depends on the quality. And it also depends on how elevated the person is. Because Krishna is in his name, but he's revealing little or a lot depending on how you chant. So it's the same Krishna, right? But he's revealing according to our sincerity, according to the quality, according to the dedication of our chanting. He's revealing or not revealing. You agree? You understand? So it can't just be, I chant and I'm totally distracted. There's no devotion. I'm only chanting just to finish a certain quota. And you're chanting and you're sincerely praying and you're making your best efforts to avoid the offenses. There's got to be a difference between that. It's not an external mechanical process. And many of us don't understand that, or don't understand it enough to force ourselves to everyday chant quality. Because in the back of our mind we think, well, at least I did my quota. And if I did my quota, then I won't go to hell, so everything's fine. And I'll get prasadam. So it's very important that we understand it's not about the number. And it's very important we understand that Krishna will reveal himself according to the earnestness and sincerity. Just like we all know the story of Yashoda and Damodar. And one essential aspect of this story, which you probably know, was that Krishna was not allowing Mother Yashoda to tie him up. And she kept trying and trying and trying. And so that was part of the Leela, but there was a philosophical underpinning to that. It wasn't just Leela. I mean, it was fun Leela because she got all the ropes in the village and still it was too short. Like it didn't make any sense. And she finally tied him up with her hair tie. Did you know that? That's what did it. Her, all the ropes couldn't do it, but she pulled out her hair tie and somehow that's what did it. Or the rope tying her hair and just took that. So we understand that's because Krishna wasn't allowing it. And so from the philosophical perspective, what we have been told by our acharyas in our line is that when Krishna saw Mother Yasoda struggling, at some point he saw that she was exhausted and frustrated. And he said, he had so much compassion. He said, I have to let her tie me up because I can't cause her to struggle like this anymore. So they were using this as an analogy that Krishna reciprocates with his mercy according to the effort. Niyatamam prapanjante. So she tried very hard and she attracted his mercy. So at a certain point, when he agreed it was okay to be tied up, he was tied up. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said something about mercy which almost appears illogical because he said you get mercy through effort. And most of us think, oh Krishna, give me mercy. And then we don't do anything because we think, well, I could get mercy through praying. If I get mercy through praying, then that's easier than having to do something. So I'll just pray every day. Krishna, be merciful to me. Krishna, I'm so fallen. I'm pretty useless. And, if you just give me mercy, then I think I can do it. But without your mercy, it's not possible. He said, you don't get mercy that way. It's counterintuitive. You get mercy by making an effort. And when Krishna sees your effort, he says, okay, I'll give you mercy. And because Yasoda made the effort, Krishna gave the mercy. So that's the example. Effort, 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 trying to tie. And then right at the end, Krishna said, okay. So it's the same with chanting. So don't think, well, I just chant 16, no effort, but I get the number done. It doesn't attract Krishna's mercy. What attracts Krishna's mercy is your effort to get the mercy and your effort to do it properly. And if you do it, you will realize that point I was making, that Krishna is revealing himself to different degrees, to different devotees. It's the same holy name, but it's a different experience. Because Krishna is there in the holy name and Krishna is unlimited and he can reveal unlimitedly. You want to hear an interesting story? It's quite funny. It was the first japa retreat I attended. It was maybe 8-9 years ago. And at the end of the retreat, devotees would share their realizations. So one of the realizations that was shared, and this was shared at subsequent retreats, is the experience of the amazement of what they were getting out of the holy name during the retreat. It was unlike their japa. Their daily japa at home was much different. The japa at the retreat was many, many times better. So they would share the realization that the experience at the retreat was like this was a different mantra. Like I never chanted this mantra before. Isn't that interesting? So it just underscores my point that Krishna can reveal himself in his holy name more and more to the point where your experience is completely different from what it normally was, as if this is a new mantra, or, did somebody put some drugs in this mantra? It's like, I don't feel the same as I normally do. And some devotees had such a transforming experience that something funny happened at the end of the workshop. We have a little sheet and we hand out to get their name and details and get their feedback. And one of the details is your birth date. And one of the devotees put the date of the retreat as his birth date because he was that transformed. He said, now I think I've actually chanted Hare Krishna. And even before we had retreats, some devotees, when they would go more deeply into their japa, they would have that realization, a similar realization, and they would say things like, I don't think I've really ever chanted Hare Krishna until today. Ever feel like a garland post? like a place to hang garlands? Well, sometimes I feel like I'm a walking garland post. Today was my birthday. I finally chanted the holy name for the first time. And so many devotees, when they try to improve their japa, they get this realization and they ask themselves, it's an interesting question, they ask themselves, was I actually ever chanting Hare Krishna before today? It's a question many devotees have asked themselves. And, it's embarrassing and can be depressing. It can be also inspiring because you're starting to taste something. But this is the experience, or a similar experience we will get when we go more deeply, that the holy name will reveal something very special, and we might question ourselves, have I actually chanted Hare Krishna before? Because I haven't experienced it like this. So I would like to kind of entice you with that there's a lot in the holy name that we are not accessing yet. And especially for those of us who find it difficult to chant 16 rounds and maybe only chant 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 1 once in a while, or who have vowed to chant 16 or have vowed to chant any number but find it difficult. One of the reasons that we'll find it difficult is because we're doing it more mechanically than devotionally, because the taste doesn't come from mechanics, and then you'll find it hard. But people who do it devotionally, they get a taste, and they don't find it difficult to chant a lot. They actually like it, because they're getting something. And as you all know, if something is enjoyable, it's easy to do. And we all know with food, if it's good, we overeat. We were talking to a devotee who was my weight when he got married, and he gained 15, I think, kgs. So his wife must be a good cook. And that's not uncommon, right? I mean, I don't know if they gain. But usually, often you find men, when they get married, they gain weight. Because their wives are probably better cooks, or if they were living alone in college or something, they probably don't eat much because they don't have time to cook, or they're not good cooks. So now they get married, their wife's a good cook. So when something is good, you just eat more, even if you don't intend to. It's the same with japa. And if something doesn't taste good, you don't eat much. Somebody burned the rice, they put too much salt in the dal. Prabhu, would you like some more dal? No, I'm fine, thank you. How about a little more rice? No, I'm full. You're not full, you just can't eat anymore because it doesn't have taste. So we all have that experience. It's the same with chanting. And we use this word taste. I want to taste for the holy name. So our experience is that those devotees who apply themselves to chanting get a taste, and it's very easy for them to chant. It's not a struggle. They like it. And for them to chant 16 rounds, it's not difficult. So when any of us want to increase our number, it's not just a matter of iron will determination that I'm going to do it. It requires taste. Taste is the easier way, because if there's taste, naturally you'll do it. So, okay, I'll chant 4 rounds every day. But if you chant well, after your 4th round, you'll think, this is nice, I'll chant some more. Right? That's our experience. So I'm trying to kind of give you an appetizer or entice you in some way to realize there's a lot more in your holy name than you may be accessing. Well, we can say there's a lot more in all our holy names than we're accessing, Because if we read the realizations of the acharyas and what they're experiencing with the holy name, we can understand, I'm not experiencing that. Right? Like Rupa Goswami, one tongue's not enough to taste the nectar. I'd like 1,000 tongues, I'd like 1,000 ears. It's so sweet. So, most of us are not tasting that, but that's what he's tasting. So, it's there potentially. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, when I chant the holy name, I feel like I'm drowning in an ocean of nectar. Now, we know when we chant, we don't always feel like that. Sometimes we feel like we're drowning in an ocean, but it's not nectar. It's something bitter. Isn't it? Sometimes we feel that way. We're just not tasting. But the point is, potentially, that nectar is there. What they're experiencing potentially is there for us to experience when we become purified. Right? And knowing that, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and I'm not tasting, and knowing that that taste is potentially there, can be a very strong impetus to improve our chanting, or at least for us to reflect, why am I not tasting? Am I committing any offenses? Am I distracted? And am I thinking about other things? Am I not praying? Am I not realizing this, that right now I'm speaking to Krishna through the holy name? Or am I just trying to get my rounds done so I can do something else that I'd rather do? And then, sometimes I give the example. Generally, men don't like to go shopping for women's things. The men don't like to shop that much, but most men don't like to go shopping with their wives. You men agree? Okay, let's take a vote here. How many men like to go shopping with your wives for women's things? Raise your hands. Okay. It's not that exciting or interesting for men, right? Yes, you agree? Yeah. Oh yeah, they can't raise their hand. Yeah. Anyway, it's not their fault. It's just the male nature. They don't like that. I forgot why I made that point. Why did I make that point? What's the point? Men don't get a taste. I forgot. I'll remember later. Anyway. What was the point before that I was making? Who can tell me? Just the point right before going shopping. Actually, I'm faking that I didn't remember it. I'm just testing you. See if you remember. Taste. The potential taste. The ocean, the bitter ocean, yeah. All right, that's a bitter ocean to go shopping with your wife. Okay. Yeah, not experienced with the chargers. Yeah, I can't remember the context. If I don't remember, it's not important. If I do, it is. Anyway, why don't you ask some questions now about what I spoke about, or anything in relation to chanting that's of interest to you. Yes.
I heard in a lecture once that when we chant in a group, then that's actually considered offenseless chanting. But it wasn't really explained, like proof by church. So I'm just curious if it's actually true or not.
She's asking, she said she heard if you chant in a group, that's offenseless. So would that mean if you chant alone, it's offensive? Was that the context?
You can, when you chant alone, you can make mistakes, so you can.
Oh.
But yeah, when if you are chanting in a group, and it might get inattentive that your chanting is still offenseless.
That may be true for some people. I wouldn't say it's true for everyone, because Thakur Haridas chants alone. He's doing good, right? And some devotees who are more involved in their chanting go to Govardhan and just sit there and hide from the public because they don't want to be disturbed, and they chant. So it may be true for some people. My general advice to questions like, should I chant this way or that way, is do what helps you. Do what inspires and helps you. Because Mahaprabhu said there's no hard and fast rule. So, generally for younger devotee, probably better they chant in groups, keeps them awake. But it's not that everyone will necessarily chant better that way. But it may be. Yes.
I have a second question also regarding to chanting. That we always recite the 10 offenses
Yes.
before chanting,
Yes.
and I don't really know myself what are the consequences actually if we are not chanting properly.
Of the offenses?
And yes.
The consequences of... Okay, let me explain something about the 10 offenses. When we say don't commit the 10 offenses, what we mean is make an effort not to commit them. Just like one of the offenses is inattention. So you can make an effort to be attentive and be inattentive, right? Maybe your mother's in the hospital having an operation, and so you have some rounds of chant. You're probably thinking of her. It's not so easy to be attentive, but you realize I'm chanting, so I should try. So you make an effort. So both Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada said, making an effort to not commit the offenses is called namabhas, the second stage. It's not offensive, but you're making the effort. It's when you don't make the effort that's offensive. And the consequence of offensive chanting is basically, from the spiritual point of view, is basically nothing. That's what you get. You don't get any benefit. You're not getting purified. You're not moving closer to Krishna because you're making offenses, and therefore Krishna's not really there in the name. So, therefore it is said, chant your 16 rounds with the effort not to commit the offenses. That brings you to the second level, which is namabhas. In that level, that's where anartha nivritti takes place, where the anarthas are purified. And that leads you to shuddhanam, because shuddha means pure, and you can't chant purely if you're not pure. It's kind of a oxymoron or a catch-22. I want to chant shuddhanam. You can't because you're not pure. Well, how will I become pure? Well, you'll become pure by chanting. So you have to chant to become pure, and then when you're pure, your chanting becomes more pure. Something like that. But the chanting in namabhas, it's called clearing or a reflection of the name, that purifies you. So that's the benefit of namabhas. That purifies you, and it brings you to the stage of shuddha. That shuddhanam is where love of Krishna begins to develop, or higher stages of Krishna consciousness are a result of shuddhanam. So if you commit offense, it basically keeps you on the material platform. And you don't really make any progress. So that's why it is said, what is it said one can chant? I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur said you could chant 100 rounds, but if it's namaparad, you won't make advancement. It's like anything, You can do it 100 times, but if you do it 100 times the wrong way, it's the wrong way. If I build this chair 100 times, or I build 100 chairs, and every time I do it the wrong way, everyone who sits in it is going to find out the chair is going to crash over. So, even though I did it 100 times, doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. So that's the point. So it's effort. You see, this is an important point in Krishna consciousness, because when you come to Krishna consciousness, you can't just say, I'm going to do this on this level, because maybe you're not on that level. So how can you do it on this level? All you can do is sincerely make an effort to come to that level. And that's what Krishna sees. I'm going to become a pure devotee. That's great, but you're not going to be pure tomorrow. Your purity now is your sincerity and your effort. And that's what Krishna sees, because you can't be more pure than you are. Right? But you can control your sincerity. You can't control your purity. Today, I will be a pure devotee. You can't just do that. But you can engage in pure devotional service. In other words, I can engage in service with a pure intention. That's what I can do that. We can all engage with a pure intention in chanting. We can all make an effort to avoid offenses. We can't just say, I'm going to chant Shuddhanam today. Because if I'm a beginning devotee, that's not possible. But so the Shuddha is the purity of intention, which I can control. So, when you became a devotee, it was your purity of intention that brought you to Krishna consciousness, not your advancement, right? And so that purity of intention is what keeps you. You don't have to be advanced to stay in Krishna consciousness, but your intention has to be pure. And if you're advanced and your intention is not pure, you can fall down. So the purity of intention is most important in bhakti. And that's in fact the definition of purity is pure intention. You may not be pure, but your intention can be pure. Like, okay, I have many desires, but I want to be a pure devotee. So that's my intention. And because that's my intention, I decide, even though I have desires, I won't give in to them. But I'll be guided by my pure intention. So that's what Krishna sees. Okay, I have so many desires, but I'm not giving in to them. And Krishna says, oh, that's good. He doesn't say, oh, who cares for you? You have so many desires. Call me up when you're pure, and then we'll talk. It's not like that. He's already helping you right from the beginning, and he's already appreciating. And he's reciprocating with that desire. And he's not reciprocating just with your level of advancement, but your level of intention. So that's the meaning of chanting without offense, that we make an effort. I make an effort to not be critical, I make sure I don't minimize the holy name, I don't offend the Vedas or other demigods, but I don't equate the name with demigods. I understand the distinction. I have faith in the holy name. I give my attention to Krishna when I'm chanting. I'm not praying for material things through the holy name. That's an offense to the holy name. That's the 10th offense. To maintain material attachment would be if you're praying for something, that's an aspect of that offense. Oh, Krishna, please help me get this job. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Because some people say, well, I chanted Hare Krishna, I didn't get the job, so the Maha Mantra doesn't work. And I say, excuse me, that's not what the Maha Mantra does. But I thought if I'm a devotee, Krishna will give me a job and give me a good wife, good husband, good car. That may or may not be true, but that's not what the holy name does. Like sometimes devotees have problems in their marriage, and so they think, well, if I chant Hare Krishna, the problems will go away. They might, and they might not, but nowhere in the scripture does it say the holy name was created by Lord Chaitanya to solve marriage problems. It's not. It was given to develop love of God. So you could say, well, if I develop love of God, it would solve marriage problems. In theory, yes, but specifically, that's not what it's for. We were talking about that last night, that a lot of times devotees think, I'll chant away my problems, but you're trying to chant away problems that the Maha Mantra wasn't created to chant away. It was created for something else. And so it's kind of an escape mechanism to not face your problem. You go, I'll just, don't bother me, I'll just chant Hare Krishna and, it'll be fine. You're actually avoiding the problem. So that becomes offensive because you're like using it for something material. I mean, it can be. It can also be spiritual. Krishna help my marriage. Yeah, because I need to have stability, but not Krishna help my marriage because I want to enjoy life. That's material. So it can have a spiritual aspect to it. If it's connected with my spiritual life, not with my material enjoyment. But if it's connected with my material enjoyment, it's offensive. Now, if a pure devotee is chanting, the pure devotee he's feeling, Krishna, please, just melt my heart with your name, or pull my heart to you. That's what a pure devotee thinks. And if you're chanting and thinking, I hope I get a raise, I bet you're like in a different universe. So we want to follow the mood of the acharyas, even if maybe we can't imitate it, but we want to understand that's the mood of the holy name. It's not a tool for material advancement. It's a tool for getting out of material entanglement. And if you chant Hare Krishna to get yourself more material entangled, what could be more of a paradox than that? When the mantras, that's the 10th offense, to maintain material attachment. Not only do you maintain material attachment, but one step worth is you're praying for material attachment through the holy name. How offensive is that? So someone might say, I chanted Hare Krishna and nothing happened, but they were making offenses. So nothing happened. Well, something happened, but nothing really perceptible and nothing significant. But I just want to say, if you apply yourself to chanting, when you chant, you focus, you pray, you connect, you'll have amazing experience. And don't think that just because you're chanting, you're in the right mood. The mood, you create the mood. Because if your mood in chanting is, I just want to get my rounds done, that's not what the holy name means. Prabhupada said the holy name means, Krishna, uplift me. Uplift me into your internal potency where I will gain this desire to serve and love you. That's what it means. It's a prayer to come under that energy. So if something else is there, that's not actually chanting. So that's why we don't get that taste, because we're chanting externally, but we're not connected with the actual meaning of the holy name. Right? You want to hear a funny story? It kind of illustrates this. A lot of devotees who don't speak Hindi, Sanskrit, and Bengali are musicians, and sometimes they come up with melodies for bhajans, but they actually don't know the words of the bhajan. So sometimes they come up with the wrong melodies, because the song is very happy and the melody is very sad, or the song is very sad and the melody is very happy. And there was a bhajan like that. It was a song in separation, but the melody was boom 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 boom. I'm breaking my head on the rocks in separation. Boom boom boom. It was completely rasa bas. It was like the words and the music were in different universes. And so sometimes when we chant Hare Krishna, it's like that. It's like the Maha Mantra means, Krishna, please let me serve you, uplift me. I'm tired of serving Maya. I want to be a pure devotee. Accept me into a relationship. And we're thinking, what do I have to do today at work? And I hope I get a raise. And I hate this devotee. I never want to see their face. We're completely disconnected. So in that disconnection, we're not actually chanting Hare Krishna. It seems like we're chanting, but we're chanting, I don't like this devotee. I want to get a raise. I have to do this today. That's what's actually going on in our heart. So don't fool yourself to think that you're actually chanting Hare Krishna when the frequency of your consciousness is not at all there. You agree? So it's not just, because I chant Hare Krishna, automatically that means there's a right intention, it's pure, I'm getting purified. You have to be aligned with what it is. And that's true about many things in life, right? There's you learn Kung Fu, but there's a consciousness. You got to be in the right otherwise you can't do it. It's not you'll do the move, but it didn't work because your mind wasn't there. So it's like that. It's an entire body, mind, spirit. Everything has to be in alignment. And then that's when Krishna reveals the holy name. And then it's like, oh my God, my japa was amazing. Otherwise it's like, I have a theory. I don't know if you agree with it, but I will throw it out. As you may know, when people challenge Prabhupada that this is just, you could chant anything and feel bliss, then Prabhupada would say, okay, chant Coca-Cola. So, we could derive a mantra. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Cola-Cola, Coca-Cola, Cola, Coke, Coke. I don't know what the next part of the mantra is. Coca-Cola, because there's only two words. Or the next mantra. Coca-Cola tastes good, Coca-Cola tastes good, Coca-Cola. So, here's my theory. When we're chanting offensively, our experience of the holy name is pretty much the same experience we would have if we chanted Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coke, Coke, Cola-Cola. You agree? I think we've all had that experience. And if you look at someone who's chanting and not trying to avoid the offenses, it almost looks like they're chanting Coca-Cola, not Hare Krishna. Because Krishna's not manifesting there because of the offense. But when you look at the face of a devotee or the body, the physiology of someone who's chanting, trying to avoid offenses and starting to taste and feeling connected, you can see there's a tangible experience there. It's as if he's sitting with Krishna, isn't it? And it's the same mantra, but it's not the same mantra because it's a different consciousness. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if we miss that, we can go year after year after year missing the opportunity to go more deeply in the holy name. Because we just think, well, I do 16, so it's okay. I like to joke. Temple president says, Prabhuji, we have 16 Mercedes buses in our temple. And he's very proud. I go, do any of them work? No, but we have 16 of them. I chant 16 rounds a day. Do any of them work? No, but I chant 16. Okay, I give you credit for 16 Mercedes buses that don't run. There's some credit. At least you got them. You did something. But you can't use them. So Prabhupada said, your credit for chanting 16 bad rounds is you chanted them. You actually did it. You had enough determination and enough integrity to keep your vow. But as far as the spiritual benefit, the only benefit you're getting is you've kept your vow, but you're not getting the benefit of the holy name if you commit offense. Prabhupada said that. So that's something to think about, isn't it? Those are his own words. He said, that chanting offensively, it's not going to help you get love of Krishna. It just helps you keep your vow. So that side is covered. I kept my vow. And I would say, I don't even think you kept your vow, because did you vow to your guru to chant 16 shnik shnik ram rams? I don't think so. You're really vowing to chant without offense, aren't you? Anyway, Prabhupada's giving us credit for making the effort, at least keeping the vow. But that's only half of it. You want to get the benefit. Great, Prabhu, you have 16 Mercedes. How about getting them to work? Don't you think that'd be a good idea? Yeah, probably a good idea. Yeah. So 16 rounds. How about getting them to work? Would that be a good idea? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Because I'm spending 2 hours a day, might as well, get them to work. Because the 2 hours aren't going to go away. So these are things to think about. So, yes, you had something.
Thank you so much for enlightening us, Prabhu.
You're welcome.
You are mentioning about the internal mood, which actually determines the success of chanting,
Yes.
getting love for Krishna.
Yes.
What are the things we should do in order to get into that real internal mood?
Good question. One of the simplest things you can do is answer a question. And this was given to us by Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, when you chant Krishna's name, Krishna says, you're calling Krishna, so Krishna comes and says, what do you want? As anyone who's called will come and say, yes, what do you want? Mahatma, yes. Prabhu, yes. You need something? So now when you're chanting, you think Krishna's asking you, what do you want? And through the holy name, you pray for what it is you want, which of course is something in relation to that relationship with him. I want to be pure. I want your mercy. I want to be a better devotee. I want to be able to serve better. Something that you aspire for personally. And just, keep me always eternally engaged in yours. So that's what I want. You read prayers like, I've served my masters lust and greed. They're very horrible masters because they make me work so hard, but they never satisfy me. So that's kind of the mood. I don't want to serve mine anymore. I want to serve you. So something in that mood, accept me in the relationship. I turn my back. That's the mood. So if you're thinking Krishna is there, you're calling him and he's asking you, what do you want? Well, during japa, that's when you can just let it all out. And if you do that, it's a totally different experience than just mechanical chanting because it's personal. And then you realize that it's such a wonderful time of the day where I can just whatever is going on in me, I can pour that out. There's the Nectar of Devotion, it talks about pouring your heart out to Krishna, like your troubles, your miseries. So, you can chant, Krishna, I'm suffering in this world. I just help me deal with life, Hare Krishna, so I can be a good devotee. And so you can just have this amazing kind of conversation where you just open up. whatever's real for you. So if you think of that, like tomorrow morning when you chant your rounds, if you think, I'm calling Krishna and he's wanting to know what I want, and this is an opportunity to express it to him, you'll have really good japa session. And when you don't use the Maha Mantra as a prayer, that's when you get distracted and start thinking about the office and the devotee you don't like, or the neighbor you don't like, or the dog you don't like that barks too much, or what you're going to do next week, or what you didn't do last week. Whatever it is, that happens when you're not praying. Because the mind has a subtle and a gross aspect, and the gross aspect is thought, and the subtle aspect is thinking, is feeling. So when you're in the prayer mood, you're feeling, and when you're feeling, the grosser aspect of the mind, it shuts off, because they don't work well together. And when the feeling shuts off, the thinking comes, right? Like, let's say, for example, you're eating and something's really good. Your mind pretty much shuts down. Oh my God, it's so good, Isn't it? Or you're hearing some music and it's like, The mind does more analysis. So, you could be eating and analyzing it, but that's not the experience. I think they use coriander, I think they use cumin, turmeric, I could taste a little cinnamon, some cloves. That's not the experience of it. So then it's in your head. So sometimes you're chanting and you're thinking, am I chanting properly? That's in your head. Now you're analyzing your chanting. You're not praying anymore. You're getting into more of the mechanical side. Am I pronouncing? Am I hearing? It's necessary, but it's more thinking about chanting and about how I'm chanting than actually entering into the mood of the mantra. So it's kind of funny if ever, if I say when you chant you should pray, and then while you're praying you ask yourself, I wonder if I'm doing this right. The answer is always no, you're not doing it right, because you stop praying and you're starting to think about praying. You're analyzing if you're doing it right, so then you lost touch with the prayer. Does that make sense? So if you try and you do these things, you'll have a different experience. Because Prabhupada said, it is, O Radha, O Krishna, please engage me in your service. We're petitioning. That's what it is. So the mood of petition has emotional energy to it. It's not a description, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the father of Brahma, the husband of Lakshmi, the protector of Prahlad. You create, you maintain, you destroy. That's not what we're doing. It's not a head prayer. Oh, Supreme Personality of Godhead, cause of all causes. That's different. It's not a petition. It's a glorification. So it's more, the emotions are different. This is a petition. So, your kids want something, they petition you. Can I have it, please? Can I have it this one time? I'll never ask again. That's petition, right? It's all emotion. No head. Their brain is turned off. They just want to eat the candy, They got sick last time they ate it. Their brain's turned off. They want to eat it again. It's all emotion. Your brain shuts down. But in this sense, it's good that it shuts down, because it just interferes. And then when it shuts down, Krishna can come through the heart and reveal himself that way. So you have to experiment with it. But there's a nice meaning to holy name that Prabhupada gave early on in the movement, which is Krishna, please accept me. So it's in the mood of relationship. Because chanting is a relationship, it's not a ritual. And when we get into it as a ritual, we forget it's a relationship. But, we're disconnected from Krishna, right? So we're chanting to connect. So we're chanting to revive a relationship. So it's a nice meditation. Krishna, please accept me. Because it's like, I want to be in the relationship. And I don't deserve to be in it because I turned my back on it. And now I have to beg. But when you want, just look at it. If you want to be Krishna conscious, if you really want to be Krishna conscious, if that's really important to you, don't you think there'll be a lot of emotion in your chanting? Krishna, I've so many lifetimes I neglected you. I want this relationship. Please pick me up. please accept me, please engage me, don't ever let me fall away from you. If that's how you feel, your chanting is going to reflect it. Right? So sometimes when we chant, we just have to key into those emotions that are actually there, but sometimes become covered in the heat of the moment of the day and all the things we have to do. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you just kind of, before you chant, kind of gear into the connection you're trying to make and get in that right mood, then it's much easier. One of the problems a lot of us have is we don't get into that mood when we chant. We just chant. Oh, it's time to chant, get the beads. And there's no shift in mood. You're still in the same mood that you're always in. But it should be different. It should be like, okay, I'm chanting. Mood has changed. Shift. Because if you don't shift, it becomes very ritualistic. You know, it's like your husband's coming home from work and you're doing so many things and he comes and you just neglect him. You know, no, he's coming. You go, all right, 6 o'clock, he's going to be home. You kind of shift your mode. Okay, I have to finish everything. So when he comes, I'm there for him. Especially if he's been gone away for a week or two from a business trip, you really want to be there for him. And it would just be awkward if you're like, nah, I got so many things to do. He can come in and just take care of himself. So, no, you shift. So we need to do that with the holy name. Shift. Okay, now we're chanting. Things are different now. And if you make that shift, it'll be different for you. But if you don't make the shift, all you're doing is saying Hare Krishna, but your mind's still in the same place it was all day, yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. And we all experience that. And the experience of the holy name when we're like that, it's not very much because we're not present to it. We're more present to our life and our problems. Isn't it? And we all know that our life and our problems are not as interesting as Krishna's life and his problems. His problems are pretty blissful. Throwing demons in trees and things like that, you know. He has very fantastic solutions to his problems. And by meditating on his problems and solutions, we become liberated. And meditating on our problems and solutions, we just don't chant well. So japa is not a time to focus on, planning our day out and our next vacation and balancing our checkbook and worrying about this and that. It's a time to connect to Krishna. And if you actually make that shift in your consciousness and do it, you'll experience much better japa. Like people always say, how do I control my mind when I chant? The problem is our minds are pretty much uncontrolled all day. So you sit down and chant, you don't make a shift, your mind's it's the same mind, so of course it's uncontrolled. You don't have to control it today. You just let it go. I have to do this, think about that. It's always thinking. I mean, you have to control it, but not like you have to do when you chant. So if you make that shift, okay, now I have to chant, so I have to get into different gear. Then when you get your mind in different gear, you don't worry so much about controlling it because it's already in the gear that's going to be supporting your chanting. Does that make sense? Yes? So a lot of us are trying to control our mind, but we still have it in the wrong gear, and that's why it doesn't work. It's like, but once you get it out of that gear, you don't have to fight it. I have to study. I'm having such a hard time studying, the TV's on, I'm watching it, I'm just struggling. And I say, I've got a really good idea. Why don't you go to the library? It's easier to study there. And you go, oh, great idea. So you go to the library. It's not a struggle to study anymore. Everybody's studying. That's all you can do. You can't talk. So it's like that. You kind of shift when you into japa mode. You call it japa library mode. You have to go in the japa library where now you're in the mode. So you're not thinking about anything else. But if you're not in that mode, your mind's just doing what it always does. In fact, it's doing more of what it does because when you chant japa, you're not doing anything. So it's really a good time to think. Because sometimes we don't have time to think. So when we sit down and chant japa, hey, now I have a time to think. And I'm thinking about all the things that I don't have time to think about, but have nothing to do with japa. So we have to shift out of that. Anyway, why don't you try these things tomorrow and see how it works for you. And, these are just some ideas. This is my experience and the experience of many devotees who have tried to go more deeply. But there may be many other ways. It's more about your desire to do it. Krishna will reveal to you. You all know what to do. If you have that intention, Krishna will give you so many ideas. I'll tell you a funny story, just to end. If anyone has any questions during prasadam, we can talk. But this amazing thing happened. I did a japa workshop, and then it was in Kolkata, and then from Kolkata, we went to Mayapur, Navadvip, Mayapur, Dham, ki jai. So one of my godbrothers had written a book, I think it's called Japa Journal or Japa something. And the book was primarily interviews with devotees about their japa and their journey. So it was another devotee with me, and he had attended the japa workshop, and we were reading the book and reading the realizations of the devotees. So I was kind of playing with him, because I had never read the book before. And I said, we're reading. And everything he was reading was what I was teaching in the japa workshop. I go, isn't that what I taught in the book, in my workshop? He goes, yeah, you taught all these points. I go, guess what? I never read that book. I had the same realization that this devotee had, because it's the same Krishna, and when you want to improve, the same Krishna gives you the same realization. So ultimately, you don't need me to tell you how to chant. I mean, it might help, but if you're sincere to improve, whatever I could tell you, Krishna will reveal to you. And we all know that. Okay? So thank you. I hope that helps you. And it was nice being here. And we have CDs. Where are they? They're on the table back here. We have CDs for my workshops. The workshop that I do on japa is about 15, 16 hours. So this was just tip of the iceberg. So if you want to learn more about japa, there's a CD there called the Japa Workshop. It's actually 50 hours. It's MP3 files of several of my workshops and lots of lectures on japa. And then I do other workshops, and they're recorded. So there's one on humility. It's called The Heart of a Vaishnava. There's one on forgiveness. There's one on the mind. There's one on vows. There's one on sadhana. There's one on balance. So all very important things in our spiritual life. And then I've recorded many kirtans, and there's 2 CDs of kirtans. So if you're interested in getting them, it'll help you a lot. These are a lot of my realizations over the years. I've been a devotee since I was 19, so I put a lot of my experiences. And what I find is that what took me 48 years to learn, if you listen to this, you can get right away. You don't have to wait 48 years. But it took me that long to figure it out. So I think that's the benefit of having us older guys around, that we made all the mistakes, and hopefully we can help you by our realization. So there's a lot of that in the CDs. And I'm a poor Brahmin, and I travel and teach. And one of the ways this poor Brahmin supports himself is, well, by donations, but also by people purchasing the CDs. So it also helps me if you purchase it. And we take credit cards. So you have no excuse. And because you love your friends so much, you're going to buy some for your friends, right? Okay. So if you want to stay in touch with me or learn more about what I do, I have a website, which is just my name, mahatmadas.com. And there's a lot more resources there for japa and other things. So take advantage of it. And Facebook and WhatsApp. And we have a WhatsApp group. If you want to join the WhatsApp group to get inspiring quotes, then you can do that on my website. And we have online classes, like this is being recorded, and you can also attend them. And you go on the website, you can sign up, and then you'll be notified when we have online classes. Yeah. So that's how I'm trying to serve the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll have prasadam, and I will sit right here and also have some prasadam. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to come and talk to me.
For starting devotee, so whether he is
Starting?
starting devotee, he is doing just this one chanting
Yes.
first time.
Yeah.
So his mood is different. So what is your suggestion? Because he has to do the just like number count, or he has
No,
to
I would,
get in the mood,
I would tell him the same thing that I just said, right from the beginning, because he should understand the mood. Yeah, because if he understands the mood, it'll be a better experience. If you just tell him, here are the beads, start on this bead, this is one round, it's very mechanical. You need to explain to him the internal mood with which he should chant, because that's where the taste will come, and that's where the power will come. And if it's too mechanistic, he may stop chanting after a while. Just he's not getting something from it. So mechanics are important. This is how you should chant, you should pronounce, you should hear. That's important, but it's not the most important. And if we make it the most important, that's not good. And many of us are inclined to put importance on externals more than internals. So if a person's already inclined to put more emphasis on externals, and we only teach them externals, they may never, it may be many, many years before they connect with the actual mood of chanting. So in a sense, it's a disservice to only give them the external. It's not a disservice in a sense, but in a sense it is, because it may handicap them from going more deeply into chanting. And I think even young people, I've seen people the first time they chant, they go very deeply. They can, if they're guided properly. I was just in China, and in China, not everybody, but many people meditate. So when we give them the holy name, they go very deep, because they're used to that. They're used to sitting, meditating. So you can see they get a lot out of it.
One more quick question.
Yes.
It's an extension to what Prabhu has asked. For a very beginning devotee who has walked in to the classes,
Yes.
shall we say both quality and quantity go hand in hand? Because some devotees say, let me get the taste in 4 rounds, then I will chant 8, 16 like that. So what is the advice we can give them? Like first,
I mean, should they go for quality first or quantity first?
yeah.
I think they should go for both, but quantity more naturally increases with quality, and quantity is maintained more easily with quality. So in all Krishna consciousness you require both. One side is your commitment and your determination, and that's you're pushing yourself. The other side is the taste, which is what's pulling you. So you need both pulling and pushing. If it's just pushing, at some point you may give up. But you're not going to get the pulling if you don't push. So I think there should be some balance there. Obviously you have to have some determination and commitment to a number. But an awareness, if taste doesn't develop, it's going to be difficult to keep that commitment, and it's going to be difficult to increase it. That's human nature. We see that all the time. That it's hard for people for average people to be very committed to something that they're getting nothing from. It's very difficult. So we need both. They work together.
One more question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Especially for the mothers who have babies,
Yes.
young babies like 2 years babies or 1 year babies or newborn babies. It's a complete change in the physiology for the mothers, because the whole night is without sleep and everything. And I have personally experienced that during my initial days of the newborn baby, so much of the quality dropped because so much of concentration is
Yes.
on the baby. And even now in our classes, there are parents who have 2 kids, and when they are chanting, the kids pull out the beads, hair,
Yes.
so many things.
Yes.
So what could be the recommendation for the moms, especially who have very naughty kids?
We had discussed this in the japa workshops, japa retreats. I can quote Giriraj Swami. He said, special mercy for mothers
Hari-Om.
who don't chant good rounds. Krishna understands, and in that situation, all you do the best you can and don't lament, because it's a temporary situation, and you're constrained. It's true. What you described is 100% true. You're constrained in your ability to chant the way you used to. So do your best, and in time you'll Your kids will grow up and you'll be able to get back into it. And it's just a reality you have to deal with. Or never get married. But that sounds like too late for you. No, I'm only joking. But it's true that some people think I shouldn't get married because I can just do my sadhana. But if you are married, it's just the reality of being married that it will happen. So you do your best within that environment, and it is compromised because you're trying to take care of a child and you're chanting. You don't have a lot of time and you're tired. So do your best. Some devotees do a little better than others. It requires more determination. And I always think, ask Krishna for guidance. Krishna, what do I do? Give me intelligence, give me strength. How do I deal with this? And he'll give you some insight how to do it better. Because some women have done really well, even though they had kids. They were able to keep up their 16 rounds steadily, and some couldn't. So I think the ones that did it, they had a lot of determination and internal guidance. They really wanted to do it. So I think that's important. Don't give in entirely, but don't kill yourself because you can't do it well. There's got to be some balance.
Thank you,
Is
Prabhu.
that okay? Okay. Yes.
What day-to-day activities that help us to improve our chanting?
Reading. He's asking what helps improve our chanting. Reading. Teaching other people about the holy name. Helping other devotees chant. Better japa. That's one of the best ways to help your own japa is to teach other people how to chant. Share your realizations about japa. Get a buddy, talk to them how to improve. Okay, we should take prasadam, right? Okay. Hare Krishna. Yes.